Welcome to Top Advisor Marketing, where you will learn how to become a prolific online influencer, attract more ideal clients, and grow your practice. Brought to you by Top Advisor Podcasting, a done-for-you podcasting solution built just for trusted advisors. And now, your co-hosts of Top Advisor Marketing, Kirk Lowe and Matt Halloran.
Hello and welcome to another Top Advisor Marketing podcast. Today, Kirk and I are going to break down what we have done to build and our journey to $1 million company. And we're going to go through a bunch of questions. Kirk's going to answer the question, then I'm going to answer the question. And our first question really is, Kirk, why did we merge? I mean, you look at your success and my success independently, and both of us had to have reasons on why we decided to create Top Advisor Marketing. What were yours?
I think the most important one, Matt, was the fact that we could have two people who are good at sales and had good networks, networks that they had nurtured over the years and grown. And I think in business, those are always going to be the most important things. It doesn't mean that you don't have to have great operations. You don't have to have great product and services, have somebody, keep it on top of your financials. But sales and networking, you can't do, most businesses can't do without that. Yeah. Unless you've got like some big contracting, you're just kind of set for life. You just focus on the operations and getting stuff. But our kind of business, selling and having a great network to build off of, those are the most important things. And we kind of doubled up on that, which is what we were doing for each other, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think energy is a really important thing too. I know that having people with lots of energy picks me up, picks everybody up. And we have a lot of people with energy in our company now, which is wonderful. So, and those are leverage points, right, for everybody else to grow and get better because of those. So those were my reasons. How about you?
Well, I think for me, it was, you were a solution to what I kept seeing within my client base. That, there are lots of coaches and consultants out there, and what people really want is really good marketing, really good communication. I feel like I did an okay job with my clients, but I knew that I'd have an opportunity to learn from you. I also am a huge fan of finding somebody who fills a void you don't. I think we have very compatible skills. Your way of selling is different than my way of selling, and they're both very successful. So I think that's super fun. I learned a lot from you before we merged, the idea, and I wanted to implement into my business, which is now our business, this total transparency. And that was a huge eye-opening thing for me. But I think you're stronger when you're able to have a deeper bench, and working with you and partnering with you and building this team that we've built has allowed us both to have a much deeper bench, to free us up to really focus on what we're truly unique and good at. And I think that's the big thing for me. Now, that really leads us to question number 2, which is, our roles changed a lot. You were the person who did 100% of the sales for Tacta brand. You were really the person who did 99% of the client-facing work. And I did the same thing. Now our roles have changed. Let's talk about what that role change has done for you.
Yeah, I mean, the extra bit of help with sales. So having a boost in one area actually frees you up to focus more on that area. And that's kind of what happened with us. So having Matt could take over some of my responsibilities, but you being able to sell actually meant we could hire more people to fill in the gaps so that we didn't have to do that work too. So it actually allowed us to focus more, build more momentum more quickly by growing. And which is kind of interesting because I think some people think that as you get busier, you're just going to get more sucked into it. And then you get fear. I know in my career, I've had this fear. It's odd. But as a business coach, you've probably heard it before. That's the fear of success.
Yeah.
You're going to take on more clients and you're not going to be able to serve them. So you almost, I don't know if it's, we call that
sabotage.
Sabotage.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's quite to that extent, but
that's
kind of slow down because you're not going to be able, it's going to create a whole bunch of uncomfortableness in your business and you don't know if you're going to be able to get past it. But I think finding a way, this ended up being the way that we could get, or at least me, and now we could get past that, which was really interesting. I mean, one thing I wanted to say here is I know everybody, we're a couple minutes into this podcast, and maybe we should have started out with it, but I'll introduce the idea now. But we're talking about this stuff today so that everybody listening can understand the lessons that we've learned and the ideas that pushed us forward and the things that were holding us back, and maybe apply them to what you're going through. And, hopefully, I'm sure we've gone through all kinds of the same things that people listening to. The people listening who've already been there and done that, and it'll be a interesting listen to hear if we've done the same things. But that's kind of the point of this. It's certainly not to talk about what we've built and brag, if you will. The idea is just, is there stuff that we've learned that you can apply?
Absolutely. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
let's carry on. Sorry, I wanted
Okay.
to said that.
Well, I appreciate the clarification. I'm sure the audience does too. My biggest role change was not having to do everything, and that's exactly kind of what you're talking about with your, helping with the sales, being able to offer these new suite of products and services that we know that advisors really want. Having Lisa, that was a huge, great win for us. Having our number two, our chief operating officer, who's really the glue that holds the organization together. Those were huge role changes, which has freed me up for a lot more creative time. Kirk, I mean, I'm writing so much more now. I just feel like I'm adding so much more value as my goal for our industry from a thought leadership perspective, and I couldn't have done that without that. Okay.
Yeah, when I talk about sales, Matt,
yeah,
I mean what you just kind of said: more time for thought leadership, more time to promote our ideas, and some of that's thought leadership, and it just gives you more time to be working on your business. And telling other people. And we've got lots of interesting large partnership opportunities that have come from that thoughtfulness. We are able to spend more time to make our product better, which has been a really incredible journey, because that's always been a struggle in this industry to find something, for me at least, to find that perfect thing. And I think we're as close to it as we've ever been. That's for sure.
Yeah.
So it's freed you up to do different things. I remember years ago, we helped this company called WBI Investments in RIA in Jersey. And we helped them a lot, not because we did the most incredible marketing, but because we created marketing that freed up the two owners, a father and son team, to now work on the business. And what they were able to do is, because they were traveling, doing sales, and we found a way to replace them with other marketing that empowered their sales team. So the sales team were empowered to do the stuff that they relied on the two owners to do. And then they spent time working on the business, and it had tremendous growth. I think about 400% over 2 years, which is crazy. Yeah. And it wasn't, like I said, we solved a problem with marketing. We didn't just blow it up with marketing, but it helped them grow. And that was a wonderful example and experience.
Growth is usually because they have an opportunity to step back and learn. Kirk, what are some of the things that you've really learned since we had this merger?
One of the things I think that's really difficult as you're growing and hitting new thresholds in your business, new experience, is understanding what roles you need on the company at any given time. And I think if you don't make the right decisions, you're not going to hit it right all the time, but if you're right more often than not, and you find the right people to fill those roles, even sometimes you don't even know. It takes a while sometimes to figure out where people are going to fit too. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm still shocked sometimes that where certain people ended up being really happy and killing it, and or not. So you kind of have to let that evolve and be really open and aware. But understanding the seats that need to be filled at the right time, and then being patient, but really on top of what people are going to best fill in those seats. Those two have been really, really huge learning curves for me as far as, growing a business. Because that really, if you get that right, you get the support to just keep taking the next step. But if you don't get that right, you get stuck there. And then you risk fighting fires, right? Regrouping, firing, hiring. That stuff gets really difficult. And that can really kill your business, and that's going to kill your energy. So I think that was a really critical growth thing for us. What do you think?
I think the greatest lesson that I have learned so far is just a life lesson, which is patience. Nothing ever happens on the timeline, no matter how much you plan. And you and I have done lots of planning, lots of projections, and sticking to it, sticking to the core of our business, which I think we've done a very good job at now. Really constantly reassessing the product offering that we have, listening to our clients and our prospects on what they want, and seeing if that's something that we want to deliver, not just always bending over backwards. I think those were the biggest things that I've learned. And they were valuable and invaluable life lessons that I'm not only going to apply to business as we continue to grow this thing, but also to life. Now,
Yeah, I think
let's.
I got something else to add actually now that
Oh,
I'm
sure.
thinking about it, which is as you grow, you get more and more opportunities present themselves. And sometimes those are sales, sometimes it's another vertical, sometimes it's a tweak. Somebody comes and sees your service and says, "Oh, that service sounds great, but for people like me, I need to twist it like this." And so all of a sudden you're writing a new proposal, and then you've got a new vertical and they need different marketing, and all of a sudden you've got, when you had 10 things you were working on, now all of a sudden you've got 30. And I think understanding that you need to figure out how to prioritize all those things and what comes first, and know that you can't tackle everything at once. And having somebody to run that's been big for us right now, is handing off all the marketing, having a role like that does the high end marketing, just not just the implementation, right? Because we're getting bigger now. So that's a huge one too, is making sure that you understand where to focus. And as you get bigger, you got more things, and that prioritization becomes even more critical to continue to have success.
Well, let's show everybody under the hood even more. I think one of the things that has happened in this podcast is we're not afraid to show our warts, or really talk about things that we could have done better. What has been your biggest mistake since you and I merged?
I've got 4 listed here. I always make a map before we talk about this, every one of our podcasts, at least the ones I'm involved in. And this had the most entries for me. So the first one is have a buy-sell agreement in place with your partners. And that's because things change, people change, your skills and how those skills are applied to the industry and the business that you're growing change, right? You really have to keep pace with what really makes a difference in your business, and having the right skill sets to drive that. So that's a big thing. So having that was a really bad mistake that I made, and before you, Matt, and it was all on me. I mean, and we needed to change the direction, and it was really slowed us down not having had that as an out, if you will, or an easy transition from one direction to another. So that really slows you down. I mean, that slowed me down, or us down, 6 to 12 months, and that's a tough thing to go through. A lot of stress in your life on everybody's part, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's the first one. The second one, this one's going to sound really strange, but I'm being really honest here. If we're being honest about this, which is the only way to have a good podcast, is not investing more in our own marketing. I mean, we've always done marketing, but the amount of marketing we're doing right now is fourfold compared to what I was doing, most of my career. I mean, we spend a lot of time pushing out thought leadership. Part of the reason we're doing it more is because we have more people, so it doesn't suck all my time
Mm-hmm.
to try to do that. But we do a lot more marketing than we've ever done, and guess what? The results are way better. So, people argue with us sometimes. Other times, other people are believers that just so nervous about spending more. It certainly helps when you spend it on the right things, and everything that we're preaching our clients do for themselves is the stuff that we've already tried and is working for us and other people. So that's been a huge one. That's the second one. The third one is not getting people what they want. So really listening to the gaps that exist in getting people what they really need. like give you an example. When we started doing our LinkedIn connection boosting, people have been so excited about us adding that because advisors were really struggling with having big enough digital audiences to get the kind of listeners that they want for their podcast and engaged in their social media. So if we can control building that instead of a more passive, hope they like us or connect with us, wait till they invite you, that tactic has been a huge addition to our service. And our advisors are more thrilled than I ever thought they would be with this. And you know what? It's working really well for us too. But listening to people, what that was always a gap. And as it turns out, something that they really wanted, not only needed, but really wanted. So that's, listening to what people want. And another one is making sure, I already said this, all the right people are on the right seats in the bus and understanding what seats you need at any given time in your business. I guess I could say those are learning, but they were mistakes that I've made in my career that I'm getting a lot better at. Hope to continue to grow in those areas too.
I think the biggest mistake that I have made, I think part of it was being impatient. I totally agree with not getting people what they want. I think you and I, at the beginning, were kind of sitting in our ivory tower, coming up with all of these great ideas, and we didn't test them like we should have. And that's the cool thing about what we're doing now is it's totally tested. In fact, we're in the process of writing up our own personal case study on really what we're offering the marketplace now. We've really honed down what it was, which would be another mistake that I think we chased too many rabbits at the beginning, right? It was what you were talking about before. There were so many people who wanted so many things, and like our thought leadership and like us personally, that we had to continue to step back and not. I don't think we said no enough. I know I didn't. And then finally is listen to the team when there is somebody who is not adding to the culture. And I think I personally have held on to relationships that I should have detached myself from much sooner because of a not necessarily a personal relationship, but being very selfish because those people had given me something that was very beneficial to me. I don't think I thought about the company as much. Now, luckily, we've remedied all of those situations, and we've created this culture with the team that was the culture that I really dreamed about.
Right.
I was ever going to run a company. This is the sort of culture, and we've achieved that. And I think sometimes just having that one strategic person, or in this case, it was actually a couple of different people who we let go, really made a big difference.
I think that it goes just as equally for having clients that you love serving and they love what you do for them, and finding people. I mean, I just had a meeting earlier today with a client of ours. They trust us so much, and they look to us. And I had a meeting about some of the new stuff we're doing because we were just doing some podcasting for them. And before I was even done talking about what we were doing, they were saying, "I trust what you're doing. I love the price. Just get us going on it, and send us what you need to, and tell us what to do, and we're moving on. Like, this stuff's working already, and you just told me it's going to be better." I don't know, that's a fun place to be in your business, right?
Yeah.
Advisors can really buy into that because you know what it's like when you give a client advice on this investment or that strategy, or this other expert we need to bring in. The ones who, it's not that you don't want to be challenged. You certainly don't mind being challenged, but it's always a great feeling when people not just trust you, but trust that you've been really thoughtful and professional about everything that you introduce to them, and that you're always fair too. So those are—
Now, number 5 on our journey to build this $1 million company was another kind of role change situation. So you called 100% of the shots with Tacta Brand. I called 100% of the shots with Top Advisor Coaching. And then when we created Top Advisor Marketing, we both kind of became co-CEOs. What are some of the things that you've learned in running this new company that is very applicable to our audience?
I think you just have to be really open-minded about where the business is going and have good, professional, respectful conversations all the time. I think when you're don't get in your own way because you want your own ideas. I mean, that's pretty obvious stuff. If it's a co-CEO relationship, which it appears to be at times for us, which seems to work. I don't really care about the CEO title or any title for that matter. We're just equity shareholder and love the business, and you want to do whatever you want. You got to do.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. I mean, we split up the role quite well. You always want to get people to work with stuff they like doing. It's not just okay, you do this, you do that. It's like, what do you like doing? Well, what are you best at doing? It's fine and what suits people and empowering them and making them feel energized every day when they go in. There's always going to be some stuff you like a little bit less, but as long as that's not a big part of your day or your week, you just keep motoring. So I think that's been positive to think about. Just be respectful and all those things.
Sure.
That was my weakest answer of the day. Sorry.
That's all right. Well, here, I'll chime in because I know that some of these are things that we really do share. We needed to learn how to wear more hats and not just wear hats individually, but together. But I think that the biggest thing that we have done that has allowed for our growth is finding the right people and keeping them on the right seats in the bus and being flexible with moving them if they want to move, as long as that's a position within the company that we have. Number two, processes, dude. We are such a process-oriented company. I remember harping at financial advisors repeatedly about systems and, how the team would get so upset that the advisor didn't use the systems. When you get everybody using the same systems and you're a systems-oriented company, everything just really moves quickly. Man, we have had fun and massive heartache when it comes to technology. We thought we had the greatest solution on one thing, and then it ended up not being the greatest solution. So we had to move to something else. And we've got a couple of core programs that we're very happy with that we think work very well now, which allows us to continue the growth. The other thing that we do really well, especially with Lisa, and it'd kind of be fun to have her on this. Maybe we should get her on this at another time and do this again, but is really taking a sharp pencil to our financials. We know exactly how much everything costs in every aspect of our business. And I think that is humongous. And then, really making the decision, and this is a big thing that we're working with some of these deals that you talked about earlier, is don't be selfish when it comes to sales. That was another huge thing. We know people who've created amazing sales organizations, and can we plug what we have into their sales organization to make their offerings better and also make it so that we can double, triple, quadruple, or we're way past that now in growth. And that was a huge decision that you and I made too, that I think was really liberating. It was that really ate into some of our profitability. But, again, we took a sharp pencil and we knew exactly where we could be. And I think we did a good job at that.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. So the sixth question here is, what has been the reason or reasons why we have grown so quickly? So you're a marketing and branding expert. This is what you've done for so long. You've helped businesses grow for 20 plus years. When you look back at Top Advisor Marketing and in our growth trajectory, what do you think has been so successful for us?
I think one of the things that you said early on, like when you were looking for a business, is to partner with a company that had a lot of credibility and had a great product already, so that you could just kind of build off of it instead of kind of feeling like you're starting from scratch. And hey, we're two guys who were good at networking and selling, and both good consultants, blah blah blah, thought leaders, but didn't have anything substantial to build off of. And we had that with our brand foundation and work like that. And then when we came together, we figured out, we added a whole other level to that, which was the podcasting and the micro influencer stuff. So I think having a great product always helps, but credibility you gain by showcasing what your expertise. And I know that's one thing I've always tried to share a lot of is, here's all the ideas, the strategies, what we've tried, what's working, what's not working. And, here's the best practices with websites, branding, podcasting, social media, LinkedIn. Here's all the tools we use. Like, being able to share all that has created a lot of credibility for us, because people know that they have an idea of what we're working on. I can't tell you how many marketing companies and how many landing pages I see in this industry where you have no idea what the heck is behind the curtain. And they're long page marketing. And I can't tell if they're successful, to be honest. Most of them I feel like aren't, because the ones who I know are really successful are more like us. And I know they're successful because I know some of those people. The ones I don't know as much of, and I find those really difficult. I get frustrated that I see advisors saying yes because there's some allure with those, right? Like, oh, I wonder what this is going to be. Maybe there's something really special behind this magic curtain. Whereas we lay it all on the line. We're micro influencers. Here's what we do: podcasting, content multiplication. LinkedIn is our social network. We do your social there, and then we do connection boosting for you. We lay the whole darn thing out. We talk about it all the time. We talk about with social. We use a tool called Canva. We use aggregation tool. We use Hootsuite. Even managing projects and processes inside of our company, we use Asana. We use Skype for communicating. We use Zencaster for podcasting. We use Podbean and Blueberry. We talk about these things all the time because what's the point of keeping secrets?
Sure.
You're going to know when you work with us. And we want everybody to know how intelligent we are, and that's the best way. How thoughtful our systems are. So we got to tell people. So I think that's a big reason why, having that credibility, that we're always sharing that thought leadership. And I think another reason is that when people do say yes, I think we've got a really good onboarding process, and we're pretty systematic, and we get done what we said we were going to get done. I think we're always trying to get better in that as well. Add more value all the time. But I think that those are some of the reasons that I can think of.
Well, I think really hyper focusing ourselves to where we've been most successful, which is LinkedIn, has been one of the greatest gifts for us. Just for everybody, we get 90% of our leads from LinkedIn and 10% from referrals. Yes, could we do better with referrals? Absolutely. But we have such a full pipeline from LinkedIn. It's absolutely fantastic. And I also want
just to be clear, we don't get any leads from LinkedIn without our podcast.
Right.
Our podcast is the thing that people immerse themselves in, and that becomes the conduit. But we attract them and get their attention on LinkedIn. That's really important to understand, because without the conduit of the podcast, everything kind of stops. It becomes a lead, not a relationship. Like people that call us say, "Hey man, I've been listening to all your podcasts. Love what you guys are talking about. Kirk, you're so handsome." And Matt, handsome, of course, you don't know because we're on a podcast. That was a joke. That was a Canadian joke. Anyway, that makes such a difference.
Yep.
So LinkedIn has been powerful, but certainly podcast is really the foundation of everything we do, is sharing that expertise, being generous, trying to be not too serious about ourselves, have fun, be diligent, all those things that hopefully seem to be quite obvious about us when we do our podcast.
Well, and not only that, but we are it's practicing what we preach. I love the fact that we do sales calls, and one of the first things that they say is, "Gosh, I feel like I know you already." Well, yeah, you've listened to 190 of our podcasts, right? If they listen to us before we change the name, it could be even more than that. Or, they're listening to our client podcasts, or they heard us podcasting with other people. This is such a magnificent medium. But I also want to say thank you because you and I have a friend who is a media partner who has done a great job of not only getting our thought leadership out, but also our clients' thought leadership out, which is Iris.xyz and Doug Heikkinen's company. If you haven't checked out Iris, please take a look at it. It is a magnificent aggregation service that really is a one-stop shop for thought leadership and financial services. So, Kirk, to wrap everything up today, where do you see us in 3 years?
I'd like to see us at 500 micro-influencers / podcasters working within our company. Right now we're at 50. But really just set ourselves up for more explosive growth, especially with all the white label contracts we're talking about with partners. And I like the idea, honestly, of being a huge influencer in financial marketing space. I love the idea that we're going to introduce podcasting to an industry that, where not many people have explored it, and a lot of advisors don't understand what an incredible impact it can have on them. So being an influencer inside this industry on creating more influencers, that's a really, I see us being a huge contributor to that. And that feels really good, by the way. And the other thing is, I think we're going to own our own event at some point. We've got some feelers out for how to create an influencer type of event in this industry. I don't know if it's going to happen in 2 years or 3 years, definitely not in the next year. But we're put it out to the world, at least between you and I, and we're pushing it out to other people that we know. The opportunity for that to happen is going to be in a hair. I'm doing it again, right? And we have to find the right partner who knows how to organize an event, because we do not want to be an event organizer. But what we do want to do is we want to create an event that is all marketing. And I don't mean just any marketing. I mean people who everything they do can all integrate and makes wonderful sense. The integration is the most important thing that we do. And that's why digital marketing is so darn interesting and intriguing, is that you can integrate, right? Podcast feeds, content, we multiply that content, we share it, that content becomes highly attractive and friendly for social media. And guess what? That social network, we're also driving to add new people to it because we can control that environment. So all of a sudden, all those things help each other out, right? If we're just using LinkedIn and we don't have a podcast, that's not very powerful. And guess what? Podcasting alone isn't the best thing to share socially, because it's one big podcast. So that's why we're doing these snippets now. We're multiplying content. So now we can give bite-sized pieces of a podcast, which are way more consumable and social friendly, right? So when that stuff all works together, that synergy is critical. So we want to create an event where we bring synergistic partners in, right? We're talking. I probably shouldn't say this, but we want to add PR component, but it has to be highly efficient PR component. We're already talking to video companies about adding video to this and how that fits, which is obviously would be a big fit. So we're talking about other things that we're testing and working on, find the best partners, the best tactics. And so those could be included in an event like that. And here, I'm going to make a bold prediction as my sign off here. And that's that I predict that podcasting will be the equivalent of having a website within 5 years. I think people will look at maybe like it was 5 or 10 years ago with the website. What do you mean you don't have a website? You have to have a website to be in this business. I mean, how are people going to know about you? I think podcasting is going to be that for financial advisors and companies within 5 years, maybe a little bit beyond that. But when you make predictions, you always got to make them shorter term, be a little more risky. But you heard it here.
Well, and I'm just going to add one piece to that, which is a support of what you were talking about, which is the PR aspect. I think our system as it sits right now is perfect for PR, because if you're doing public relations and you can say things like, with confidence, if you want to know more about who I am, you can follow me on LinkedIn. When you have a kicking LinkedIn profile, great thought leadership there. And then when you can also say, hey, thank you so much for having me on your show. Why don't you go ahead and listen to our podcast if you want to continue to find out more about what we're doing to help with blankety blank. I think those are two things that are absolutely humongous. So Kirk, man, thank you so much for lifting under the hood. We firmly believe that the level of transparency that we offer at Top Advisor Marketing, just from a business perspective, is one of the reasons why we have such dedicated listeners, and also why people feel like they really know who we are, because Kirk and I don't have anything to hide. We're not sitting on any trade secrets. We are trying to offer everything so that if you want to do what we do for yourself, you can just do it. Listen to the podcast, read our white papers, follow us on social media. You can do a lot of what we do. But if you don't want to do it yourself, if you want to outsource it, we would love to have the opportunity to be that outsourcing solution for you. Any closing statements, Kirk?
No, hopefully this was helpful for everybody, kind of experiencing the journey that we've gone through, and one that you can hopefully relate to. And maybe there's some kind of learning or maybe we've created a connection with you because we've gone through the same stuff that you've gone through or are going through in your business. That's kind of what a podcast is about, right? It's about being helpful, being honest, authentic, and hopefully you can take that kind of spirit to your podcast. I don't think any of your clients are going to have any issue at all. In fact, it'll be a very positive experience to learn about how you grow as a human and business owner, as a financial advisor. So that's another just part of being great in business, is just being yourself all the time. And hopefully you understand that that's exactly what we're trying to do today with you, and we try to do it on every podcast. So thanks so much for listening, and we look forward to hearing from you in the near future.
If you have any topic ideas, please make sure you email me at matt@topadvisorm, and then M is for marketing.com. Or you can go ahead and connect with us on social and communicate us. That way, LinkedIn for both Kirk Lowe and Matt Halloran. If you have not subscribed, make sure you click that subscribe now button. And if you haven't given us a review on iTunes, please take a second to do that. That helps us out a whole bunch in the ranking. So for everybody at Top Advisor Marketing and Kirk Lowe, this is Matt Halloran, and we'll see you on the other side of the mic very soon.
Are you ready to change the way you communicate with your clients? Are you tired of being the best kept secret in your area? Learn how to become a prolific online influencer, attract more ideal clients, and grow your business. Contact us today and see what the power of podcasting can do for your business. Click on the Contact Us link on our website at topadvisormarketing.com and set up a call to learn more. Follow us on LinkedIn and Facebook for more updates and information.
This was brought to you by Iris.xyz, a platform helping financial professionals become better in business and life through new media and new voices. Visit them and learn more at Iris.xyz.